Okay, it's September 1st, and this is the Parking, Traffic, and Safety Committee meeting. And the first order of business is attendance.
Mary Lou McElwain.
Here.
Steve Pesci.
Here.
Mark Siracusa. Here. Harold Whitehouse. Here. Erica Wygonick. Here. Police Captain Mike Maloney.
Here.
Assistant Fire Chief Bill McQuillan. Public Works Director Peter Rice.
Here.
City Manager Karen Connard.
Here.
Chairman Andrew Bagley.
Here. We could please have the financial report. So if I could get a motion.
Motion to accept the budget as presented?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Harold, I thought you were going to say something.
Now, public comment. Just state your name and address for the record, please. Morning.
My name is Beth Danilowski. I live at 5 Washington Street in Portsmouth. I was recently informed about Mr. Bodie coming last week to request that the 15-minute spot be moved across the street in front of the Vernon Carlson chocolate shop. And I just wanted to present a few concerns. I think when he said that he talked to all the local businesses, I know that he didn't talk to the chocolate shop or the ice cream shop on the corner there, and they know. Sorry, they do have some of their patrons utilize those spots. We also have the laundromat right around the corner from there, which is small, and they use the immediate local parking. The grocery store has been closed while we're coming up to code for the city. So I know that the cameras were placed to track the parking usage. So I just wanted to kind of point out that I don't think that it will be particularly accurate during this time when these businesses have been closed. And I know that I think at the last meeting, you changed some of the 15-minute spots on Daniel Street. And I think there might be sort of an extra 15-minute spot floating around. So if it were possible to just take that extra one from Daniel Street that was removed and put it in front of the Vernon Carlson space and just leave the other two where they are, because those do benefit, at least I think, 4 businesses on that corner there. And that's about it.
Great. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Is there anybody online?
No, not at this time.
All right, so
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I just want to mention that the item Beth is speaking about is not on today's agenda, correct?
Correct.
We are still taking, staff still monitoring, so the committee won't act on it until at least next month, which will be the first Thursday in October. Just didn't want to have you sitting there wondering.
Mr. Chair, we also received an email from the proprietor of Googie's expressing concern relative to that and asking that we leave the 2 spaces as is.
great, thank you. Any further comment on the 15 minutes parking spaces?
It'll be on next month's agenda.
Yes.
Or when we have some good data to provide. Yeah.
Can you tell if there's anyone on Zoom?
Still no one on Zoom right now.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on. We don't have any presentations this month. So new business is Port Walk Place, request for a renewal of the valet license agreement by business owner. Sample motion 1, move to approve renewal of valet license agreement for Parade Residence Hotel LLC for a term of 1 year. Or sample motion 2, move to approve renewal of valet license agreement for Port Walk HI LLC for a term of 1 year.
So moved.
Erica?
When do I ask questions? I have to wait for a second?
Ms. Mason?
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Just one question, please.
Yep.
Yeah. Mary Lou, are you talking, Mary? No?
No, I'm not saying anything.
One question. With an inflation figure, is that figured in when it comes to renewal of the license for these parking spaces? You know?
Well, this is kind of a unique case. Let's
Yeah.
go to Erica's question first.
I remember this coming up last year, and I feel like it wasn't 100% resolved. Mary Lou, I think, brought this up last year, and I remember it's a unique case because I think it's a private road that the city maintains, but somehow we still give a valet license
Yeah.
because the city maintains the road. So I know it's kind of complicated. What I remember Mary Lou bringing up last year, and I didn't re-verify this year, but I know I've seen it, is that the request is for valet parking, like 2 or 3 spaces here and 2 or 3 spaces here. But if you go out there, there's like 6 spaces on the side that are valet. I don't remember another organization coming with a different valet agreement for those other 3 since then. And so I just wanted to circle back on that and
Yeah, I could address that.
Thanks, Eric.
We've been out there recently and saw exactly what you mentioned, the signs, they have a lot more spaces being used than they have license
Yeah.
for. That was brought to their attention. That was a mistake on their part of placing the signs in the wrong places. So they've been directed, and they said they will move the signs to only the spaces where they have a license for.
okay, awesome.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
Just to clarify, the city does not maintain the roadway. All maintenance of the roadway, sidewalks, crosswalks, everything is on the developer, on the development there. The only thing that we do is we manage the parking spaces, and they pay us a fee to cover our expenses associated with that.
Thank you.
Mary Lou?
So I have a question on that. The 3 spaces that are requested under this request are not directly in front of the exit of the hotel on the corner. So what happens to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces that are right there? Are those going to be metered, or will they in fact be taken up by the hotels without markings as valet?
Let me bring that up on the screen so we make sure we're talking about the same spot.
Because I think on both sides they have valet
Yeah,
parking.
the valet is taking place in this area. This one license is for these 3 spaces.
Right.
The other license is for these 3 spaces.
Right.
And then there's these 4 spaces in front of the Marriott, which are posted as loading and unloading.
Right. But
And-
they don't have any time restriction, and they're
No,
usually
they
used for
they could be
valet.
used as parking spaces.
Yeah, regular parking spaces with meters?
Well, that's
That's debatable.
debatable.
Yeah.
The thing, just Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yeah.
the thing I remember is that this site approval showed these things as in this configuration, in functioning as this. So it
Okay.
is not something unique, it's not extra, it's exactly what was approved when they came to site.
Okay, that's
So-
good to know. Thank you.
So it's not this isn't something special we're doing for them. It is a private roadway. It doesn't, we don't generate revenue from that space other than the license fees associated with valet does come to the city. But the parking revenues minus our expenses goes to them.
Yes, yes, I was aware of that. I just wondered about the spaces, the designated spaces. If there are 5 spaces that are not part of this valet license, are they metered? Are they open for anyone for free parking, or are they just loading? And does that mean,
Can the parking director speak to that?
So Eric, and you can correct me on this if I'm not right, but if those are designated for loading and unloading, and that's what they're supposed to be used for. So we have, as Eric said, we have seen some signage migration, and we've tried to address that. We have not been asked to address the loading and unloading in that area. I'm certain that we could, take a look at what needs to be done with that. It's again, it's a private road, so.
yeah. Excuse me. So loading and unloading means for people who are coming to stay at the hotel?
I'd say the business is nearby, just like any other loading zone, yeah. That would be my intention.
I will make a comment on this. So because it's a private road, by doing it the way we're doing it, where the city doesn't incur any costs because all our costs are paid for, what we avoid is what we've seen in the private parking zones. If this road was managed by, say, a company that's not the city, they could theoretically charge whatever they want,
Right.
which would generate probably much higher pricing and upset people. So I think this, why it's a bit unwieldy, is probably the most fair and equitable solution.
Yep.
This, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just
sorry,
one
Howard.
question. To Peter Rice, may I?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a private road, but do we maintain the water and sewer line?
Yes,
We do.
water and sewer in the area that goes, and I don't recall whether we have mains that go up that street or not, Harold. But if we did, we'd have an easement for maintenance of that because it would be a public,
Okay, yeah,
public
yeah,
sewer.
thank you.
The services themselves are theirs, but the mains would be ours.
Yeah.
Mark?
I'm going to make a motion.
Okay.
I think we already
Oh, yeah, we have a
have a
motion.
motion, I think.
Right,
Do we have a motion to approve renewal?
yeah, we do.
Okay.
Just
That was
one-
second? That
can
was
I-
discussion, so we're voting.
Steve's got a.
Just a comment. I mean, this road is such a unique situation in the city, and I'm sure that you get a lot of inquiries about parking, what's going on, who's managing it. I'm wondering if it might be worthwhile on the top of the street name sign to put private road, just so there's some public awareness that that street is unique. It's just a thought that, I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about this street and its unique characteristic and the unique arrangement, and just wondering if that might be something to consider down the road as well.
Is that done anywhere else in the city?
Not that I'm aware of. Although, we do have some other private streets, but they're not posted that way. I'm thinking of Hartwell Avenue next to the high school.
The only concern I'd have with putting private road is it might discourage people from going down it because they feel like.
Or paying for parking.
Just one quick, oh, sorry.
Peter, Eastwood off of Lang, is that Portsmouth?
I believe so.
That's
Yeah,
a
it's right
private.
on the border.
That is a private road. But that doesn't have a sign that says private
And
road.
private road might not be the correct term. I don't know. It's just a thought. We seem to have this discussion every time the agreement comes up.
Yeah.
I think it's us that have the issue. I don't think it's the public, though, so maybe we just put a note when they come through.
When these come up, that.
We've talked about this 15 times. It's part of the site plan. Life is
Duly
good.
noted, Erica.
Mary Lou?
I don't object to the valet parking program here or the loading zone. I just wanted clarification on it, which is what Erica did. So I think the signage clarification makes a difference on that area. Thank you.
Okay. All right, are we ready for a vote?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Are we voting on 1 and 2 or just 1?
Voting on 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
1 and 2?
Yep.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, old business, Woodbury Avenue report back on request for RRFB at Woodbury Manor Crosswalk by residents. Do you want to give a report? Sure.
So we had a request from a resident of the Woodbury Manor in this area, and so about crossing the crosswalk here on Woodbury Ave. We placed a traffic camera out here for a week and watched the crossings, counted the number of crossings. We only got about 10 crossings a day out here. To justify a crosswalk, you should have at least 20 an hour. And then for an RRFB, you'd want to have even more crossings than that. I think in this location, we'd be looking to see, 60 to 65 pedestrians an hour to justify an RFB. So for that reason, I'm not recommending the installation of an RFB at this location. We do already have a Weeble, with the in-street sign in place here, and we do have the signs on either side of the crosswalk. So in watching the videos, we didn't see a lot of trouble crossing. There's plenty of gaps in traffic, so it's not my recommendation to put one there.
Mr. Chairman, if Eric could explain how the RFB selection or justification is done, and that it's not a static measure.
Yes, we have there's a spreadsheet that we go through. It takes into account all the factors of the location, the speed of the traffic, the volume of the traffic, the crossing distance, the walking speed of the pedestrians. And here it's a little bit slower with maybe some elderly people. We look at all these factors and run it through a spreadsheet and the speed limits, and it comes out and tells you whether or not just a painted crosswalk is appropriate, or if you should do more enhancement or active sidewalks, such as flashing signs or pedestrian flags or bump outs or other measures that could do slow traffic or make the crosswalk more noticeable. So there's a level of improvements that are justified based on those different factors. And that's what we use on these each case by case to justify or to look and see whether it's justified.
Great, thank you.
Is there a motion on the floor? Is there a motion?
I'll move to place on in file or.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Second?
Oh, am I allowed to second?
Any other discussion? Steve?
I want to thank the city doing a really good job keeping the little center line marker there. It's really helpful. And, I use that once in a while, that crosswalk, and it's maintained very well by the city. Thank you. I think it is appropriate there. For the record, I think I'm more concerned about the crosswalks at the Dennett Woodbury area, and hope that we can get some time at some point to have the staff go out and look at some of the signage in that whole little micro zone between Dennett and the ramps. The signs have migrated. There's empty posts. I could use a freshening up.
Okay.
Well, we do have a couple more RRFB old businesses to address. One thing that Eric brought up is pedestrian crosswalk flags, which is something we haven't used in the city. If on A, B, or C, that was something that we wanted to do a trial run, so kind of get back to the mini rotary type adventure, we could consider that.
I think they're great.
Yeah, this might be a good test place for those. It's inexpensive. It's a fixed. I think many of the users here are stable, fixed residents of that neighborhood. So the kind of learning process to use that might be better than in a random public crosswalk somewhere.
So do we want to modify the motion to
Eric,
try a pilot of that? Oh, sorry.
what were the volumes
We get about 10 crossings a day at this location.
a day?
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's enough activity.
Maybe for one or the other.
Yeah. Maybe we
agenda.
can return to the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, and another long-term idea out here is also completing the sidewalk along the side of Woodbury. The proposed development at this corner of Boyd Road, they are proposing to extend the sidewalk from the hotels down to Boyd Road. So
Good.
there would be this missing link between Boyd and Cottage. So that could be a future project as well. Eliminate the need to cross in order to get to a sidewalk.
All right, so we'll leave the motion as is. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, item B in old business, Maplewood Avenue at Dennett Street. Report back on request for RFB. Sample motion, move to place item on file.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move very long.
All right, C, South Street at Broad Street. Report back on the need for RRFB. Sample motion, move to place item on file.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? And just before we vote on this, on all of these, we've looked at, or the spreadsheets, analyzed them, and, you know, the pedestrian traffic's not enough to justify these because we really have to be strategic about where we put these. If there's too many, people will ignore them. And plus, there's a cost factor, but more we want to use these tools in the highest use cases where they're going to have the biggest impact. So if we just put them everywhere, they lose their effectiveness.
There's also public criticism based on people not pushing the button, which is a 50-50, which is a problem.
Yeah, well, we do have one location, I believe,
On
near my
video?
house where the traffic doesn't justify the blinkers, I believe, on Middle Street, I think.
Yeah, there's a few on Middle Street where we don't get many crossings. Yeah.
So it's,
Wasn't there a video? You have to video it to see if they're using it.
Yes, yeah, we've been doing that. Tyler's been working on that as well.
Yeah.
Seeing, so we got a lot of results on
I
that.
mean, as a layman, it's a 50-50. They do or they don't.
Pushing the button.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, they're just, and that's the whole purpose of it. So.
all right,
Mr.
so.
Chair, Mr. Chair, if I may, The South and Broad Street one was associated with the sidewalk that was going to be removed. We are going to move forward with the removal of that. We had a trip and fall the other day. So it is a very uneven, dangerous section of sidewalk. So that section of sidewalk is going to be removed. And someday when the trees are pass away, we will replace that sidewalk. But until then.
Until the tree committee tells us.
Until the tree committee says. No, so I just wanted to, people aware that's the resolution that we're gonna have.
So you take the sidewalk out, but you still have the humps over the trees.
Correct. It'll be a grassy area that
Yeah,
just people
yeah.
will, most likely walk across anyway.
And you're moving forward, I see, with at least utilities for up the street on the corner.
So I guess
Retaining wall?
we could jump to miscellaneous if that's it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. Chair?
Yes. Well, let's vote on this then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Yeah, we'll hold that for miscellaneous. D, Middle Street at Miller Avenue, report back on speed study. If you want to speak to it, or we're going to move to place this item on file.
I'll second it.
All right, you make the motion, and then if I can get another second.
I'll second it if
Okay.
Harold first says.
Okay, so we've collected data. This was a concern that was brought up to the committee last year, and we've said we would look at this once the bike lane situation got resolved, and now that we have the bike lane situation resolved, we've gone out and measured the speeds on either side of Miller, and we've seen that, with the parking pushed back to the curb, the speeds have gone back up. It's posted at 25 now as the speed limit was lowered on Middle Street, but average speeds are 28, and with an 85th percentile of 32 miles per hour. That was at Union Street, and then we also counted it on the inbound side, or the other side of Miller, up at Austin Street, and we see similar results, a little bit slower as you get into town, 26 for an average speed, 31 for an 85th. So, they are going faster than the speed limit, but not, considerably to the point where something it's critical. This location the signal here will be upgraded as funding permits. We have a design in progress, and that will upgrade the signal equipment, bigger lenses, increase the awareness of the signal, as well as the pedestrian crossing. So there's a lot of very antiquated equipment out there that's not working too well, so.
Right.
Okay.
Mary Lou?
I was going to bring that up because we've talked about that over the years, I think, about upgrading that crosswalk. So is the signaling, is that on the docket? Is that high priority to be done?
Yes, the design has been done. It's a matter of just getting the funding for it. We obtained the necessary easements. We redesigned it because originally the plan that was done 15, 20 years ago
Right.
needed easements that we could never obtain. So we
Right.
redesigned it to
Yeah.
avoid that issue.
It's a heavily used intersection for pedestrians. Thank you.
All right, on to informational items.
Did we vote on that?
I don't
Oh,
think we
sorry.
We didn't vote on it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Informational items, monthly accident report from the police.
Morning, Mr. Chair. For the month of July, we had 65 total crashes, of which 35 were reportable. So that's a drop of over 20 crashes in total from June. I'm not exactly sure what to attribute that to. That's a pretty significant drop off. But suffice to say, July obviously being a very busy month in the Seacoast for traffic. I'm happy to say that we didn't see a spike in our crashes. We actually saw somewhat of a decline. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to opine that it's probably all the construction that the Public Works is doing.
that's it.
Thank you, Public Works.
It does slow traffic. That is true.
Your traffic calming.
Thank you.
Increases blood pressure, but
So you got more road rage?
It's your blood pressure, though.
And I am noticing that we'll have to get you a new badge that says Deputy Chief instead of
Oh,
police
yes, thank
captain.
you.
So
Yeah.
congratulations
Yeah, thank you.
on that promotion.
Appreciate it.
Informational State Street two-way traffic study.
This is just bringing up to speed, the city council at their meeting of a few weeks ago voted to have the parking traffic safety committee study the possibility of converting State Street traffic from one-way to two-way traffic, from the Memorial Bridge to Middle Street. And so that has come to us, and I am in the process of putting together a request for proposals to get some firms to bid on this study. What we anticipate doing is using the downtown traffic model that was developed for the city a few years ago and using that as a base and then running these alternatives, looking at State Street traffic. We may also be able to look at a couple of other alternatives. If we're changing State Street from one-way to two-way, maybe it makes sense to look at Penn Hollow and Chapel Street, maybe changing the flows on those streets. And this model is an excellent opportunity to look at these scenarios because you can make these changes and it'll, looks at all the downtown area and how this will impact adjacent intersections and other roadways and things we might not think of right off. This model will point out to us and show us what the issues are.
So you're taking the 2019 model and you're just expanding or looking at other options?
Yes, updating it, make sure it's
Updating.
calibrated to the current conditions. We include any new projects in there, such as the Brick Market on Penn Hollow Street. McIntyre, if we know what exactly is going to go in there, we can add traffic generated by that project, and then calibrate to existing conditions, and then make the changes in the model to.
And the monument going to Memorial?
Yeah.
That area there?
Yeah, that would be, looking at that, it wouldn't be too much of a change actually right there, because we have the two lanes coming up onto the bridge right now. One
Right.
becomes a U-turn lane and the other one goes onto the bridge, so. The
Yeah.
monument area wouldn't be affected, it looks like. It would just be that little triangular
Yeah.
yield area that would have to be cut back, so.
Harold?
I hope somebody comes to me and asks me why it didn't work back in the 50s. Daniel Street making two ways and State Street making it two ways. Why they did it and why it didn't work. So I hope somebody comes to me and asks me. Like to me, it happened like yesterday, really.
So-
But they tried it because downtown was dying. Boarded stores, Montgomery Wars, Newbury's, Grants, all boarded up. They wanted to bring the traffic from the shipyard and not have them go through the city and go to the dog park down to Peabody and also spend money at the North Shore Shopping Center. So they tried something. They was cashing their checks on the shipyard and going right through our city without spending money, and things were hurting. So, but it didn't work.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
When did they move Gilly's cart?
Gillycat, probably around the 70s.
Not in the
Yeah,
70s?
yeah.
They went from Market Square?
Market Square, right on the
Which is
side.
downtown?
They
That's
paid
street
$1.
dining.
They paid $1 a day, every night, right on the corner. Yeah.
What did you get for $1? Did you get
Yeah.
a burger and a beer, or did you get a?
Gilly, you can't believe it. Oh my God, he was something else, boy. If you knew Gilly, you knew the master of the business people.
So we had street dining back
What?
in. We had street dining by Gilly's.
Yeah.
The concept isn't new.
So I see that Councilor Moreau is on Zoom, and this was her idea to bring up. So does
Can I
she want to
ask
speak, or?
Harold a question?
Oh, yes, of course.
Harold, so you're saying it worked from a traffic perspective, but it didn't work from an economic perspective?
What?
The two-way traffic worked from a traffic perspective, but it didn't work from an economic
Yeah,
perspective?
that's right. Both. Yeah, it didn't work for economic because they were trying to bring the people from the shipyard who was getting paid. There was a lot of people over the shipyard, and they was casting their checks on the shipyard and traveling right through our city without spending any money. And things were hurting downtown.
Thanks.
To honor what the chairman said, I would make a motion to suspend the rules to allow Councilor Moreau to give comment to the item we're discussing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I wasn't planning on talking.
Well, we got you now.
Got you now.
I just wanted to listen and to give just a quick overview. We want people to still go to the downtown, and so I don't want to take away the exit to Daniel Street or really change much else. The idea was if you're just trying to get from that bridge down Route 1 to someplace else, that you don't have to then go through the downtown. So it would make it more of a true destination for people to go. And I understand, the economics of making sort of forcing people into the downtown. I don't think we have that problem anymore.
That's for sure. Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman of Harold? At the time when that was decided, were there 3 bridges to choose from?
I can't remember. I think so. I think
Only
it was.
2? Okay.
95.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The interstate bridge wasn't built.
So I think that's an important factor to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking from someone as a husband that does it all the time, he only ever uses the Memorial Bridge in the morning when he goes to work at 6:30. He doesn't use it to come home because there's too much traffic.
That's
I got a
right.
question. Harold, do you know this? The people that worked at the Navy Yard, most of them, the majority of them at the time, do they live in New Hampshire or do they live in Maine?
No, it varied.
It varied.
Varied, yeah, back and forth. Mostly New Hampshire, Maine.
Okay.
And it still does
But there's
vary,
a lot of
believe it or not.
employees.
There's
Even
not,
after World
there's
War
more
II,
people
a lot
living
of
in Portsmouth
employees.
now than there was years ago, but not a lot.
These are people that work at the Navy Yard.
Yeah. We're trying to get their money, you know, being paid well over there.
Mary Lou?
Well, I just hope this doesn't coincide with the McIntyre construction, because the whole downtown will shut down for a while, because we'll have parallel streets that are having major construction. So I think as we look at this, let's look at I know you're doing this, Peter. Look at the whole picture.
Traffic calming.
Yeah, we'll look.
Slowing people down.
Yes, but if we have the McIntyre major construction here and working on State Street, it seems like a lot of disruption.
I don't think State Street would need a ton of,
It's not a major construction.
yeah, there's like some signal heads, but I don't think you would need too much else.
Changes, I should say.
See, his definition of major is different.
Steve?
I'm really excited to see this study happening, and we're so lucky to have the traffic model as a tool that's in place and just needs to be updated and refreshed. And having worked on similar models in several other communities around here, being able to look at this with McIntyre assumptions, and I think it's a great opportunity for the city. And I hope we write a very nice RFP and that we get good quality work out of the consultants, because I think this is a great transformational inflection point here to look at this in coordination with everything else going on downtown and see what the opportunities are. And, we don't know. There's a lot of dynamics, but it's great that the council's suggested that we move forward on this. So.
All right. No other comment on that item. We'll go to miscellaneous, and I think some sidewalks maybe?
Just to bring the committee up to date, as you recall, last spring we had public comment and a vote by the committee to look at putting a sidewalk in from Pinehurst up to the top of the hill at Union. What we said was that we would do this with funding available, and we were able to. The gas company informed us when we were ready to pave South Street that they had a section of gas line they needed to replace in our roadway, and it did not coincide with what we wanted to do. So we pushed them into the sidewalk area. So they put the gas line on the sidewalk and then prepared the base for the sidewalk, which will then be installed. It should be installed right after or shortly after.
Great.
So. At a much reduced cost.
I was going to say, they're paying.
Yeah, they're paying,
Right.
yeah.
Good strategizing,
So-
yeah.
So we get sidewalks and we save some money.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that's excellent.
Yep. Leveraging when we can.
Yeah, retaining them.
Erica?
I have a miscellaneous comment, which is, I really like the bump that got flattened out on Elwyn Ave Street. I can't keep track of which is which. My kids are sad that they can't get air on the way to school, but that is.
Oh, is that a sidewalk hump?
There was I think a
launch?
tree had been taken out.
Yeah, I think they have that out in Maple Haven or Panaway.
The new little section of
trees.
sidewalk is
Yeah.
lovely.
Is it
So,
trees?
good job, guys.
BMX track.
Yeah, just the trees cause the sidewalks to go up, so the kids launch off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that on Elwyn Ave. They do that on Panaway too. Maple Haven.
Steve?
Just another miscellaneous comment. I've been noticing this summer a lot more bike use downtown, and I wanted to make sure that when we think about parking and accommodating visitors, we keep in mind the need for quality bike racks. I know Market Square is going to be refreshed in the coming years, but I think the parking problem we're having right now downtown is bikes, and you start to see them attached to railings and light posts and whatever. So as we think about our projects and as we think about parking, I want to make sure that we put aside the necessary, and it's almost fractional compared to auto parking, the necessary money to make sure we have quality bike parking accommodation in downtown. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Mary Lou?
Yes, on that, I had a request from a resident who does a lot of biking to replace all the sharrows on the various roads that have been repaved so that we are updated on the sharrows too. And I'm wondering if, when we're doing bike racks, if we could look at Russell at Market. There is a bike lane that comes up right to Russell Street and then it stops. It doesn't come into town. And it would seem that if we had bike racks there, people could leave their bikes and walk into downtown via Market Street instead of biking. Just a thought about another bike rack.
Peter, Eric, is there a centralized area around town that you could have bike racks where that's where the bikers can go to park? Because we're talking about parking. And then disperse out from that instead of having several.
So there are a number of spots in the city that are centralized. The Hanover Garage has bike racks. There are a couple corrals down near the Gaslight and over near off of Penn Hollow. The bicyclists, the reason bicyclists love bicycles is that they don't have to park remotely.
Yeah.
They go right to the location that they want to park and go use. And so providing these things is all well and good, but they're not going to use them.
How about, let's take it to the next level.
So having more available throughout the city.
The bike corrals are great. The bike corrals are great. I know they're seasonal, so you can take them away for plowing, and I think that's a great model. And to just keep, increasing the locations and capacity of those is fine.
And Peter, based on your point too, if you take a ruckus scooter, you see those parked in front of buildings, especially on the water area there. And they just go right up to where they're working. They get out and.
Yeah, and the ordinance is clear relative to moped designated, which is 50 cc's or less. They can be on sidewalks as long as they're not obstructing pedestrians,
Right.
or doorways, or fire monuments. What was the other?
Or opening car doors.
Opening car doors. Yeah. So. Your point's well taken. They people on mopeds treat them as a bicycle as well, and that's the reason they do that. It's because they can zip places faster.
Yeah.
And it frees up parking for everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't want to spots.
I'm not saying anything right now.
One question to Peter in reference to Humphreys Court. It's a personal issue.
Okay.
Will there ever be a time when we won't be able to use our driveways or get into our house with the construction that's going on down there? Will we have to get a room downtown in a motel? We appreciate
That's
what you're
what he
doing.
wants. So you're looking at the when should we reserve the Wentworth for you?
You want the tax? You want the taxpayer to put you up?
No.
You will always be able to access your home.
Okay.
Always.
Thank you. Yeah.
Nice try, though.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll get a second.
Second.
Motion. All right. All those in favor?
We all done?
All done. Yeah.
Tell you second.
Aye. Any opposed?
Right.
Thank you, Portsmouth.